mi-employé, distinguished journalists, ladies and gentlemen, as you are all aware, on June 20, 2018, the Prime Minister, Head of Government, personally launched the Emergency Humanitarian Assistance Plan decided by the Head of State, His Excellency Paul Biya, in favor of the civilian population of the Northwest and Southwest region, victim of violence and other abuses perpetrated by terrorist gangs claiming to belong to secessionist movements in these two regions. I have therefore invited you to this press conference to recall the objectives of this important decision and to provide details on the areas of intervention and the condition of implementation of this systems plan. I have the honor and the pleasure to be accompanied by His Excellency, the Minister of Territorial Administration, who has been appointed by the Head of State to chair an ad hoc committee tasked with coordinating the humanitarian response to the situation in the northwest and southwest of our nation. Excellency, Mr. Minister, I wish you a warm welcome to the Minister of Communication on this occasion. Distinguished journalists, ladies and gentlemen, before getting into the crux of the matter, I would like to recall that action had already been taken as part of the national solidarity and activities carried out by the territorial competent administrative authorities. With regard to national solidarity, many displaced populations have been hosted by family members settled in more stable cities such as Yaoundé, Douala, Bamenda, Boya, Limbe, or Bafoussam. Other displaced populations have also benefited from the administrative measures in terms of reception, resettlement, feeding, and distribution of essential items. In the area of education, integration initiative for students initially based in crisis areas continue and were escalated in the littoral, west and central region throughout the 2017-2018 school year. The Defense and Security Forces have also carried out civil-military action for the benefit of the affected population, such as the construction of drinking water points, the administration of basic health care, the supply of school equipment, and the distribution of essential items, among others. It is worth noting that the Emergency Humanitarian Assistance Plan decided by the Head of State of a higher dimension and scale is a concrete translation of the government resolve to provide adequate solution to the actual needs of the people affected by the violence and other abuses perpetrated by the terrorist gangs. As a matter of fact, the strategic objectives of this plan are the following: to restore a living environment conducive to the development of the communities concerned, to provide emergency humanitarian assistance to population in distress, to ensure the socio-economic reintegration of individuals and communities who are victims of violence and forced to move, to rehabilitate infrastructure destroyed as a result of such violence, and in general to promote social cohesion and living together. This emergency humanitarian assistance plan targets both displaced and refugee population with the understanding that under the humanitarian law, displaced population are those who, forced with a particular crisis situation, are obliged to abandon their usual places or residence, but to settle elsewhere within the national territory. Whereas the refugee populations are those who, faced with the same crisis situations, also quit their original places or residence to rather settle outside the national territory. The emergency humanitarian assistance plans covers numbers of areas including housing, agriculture, livestock, food, education, health, civil status, and in general terms, administrative documents. In the area of health, the destroyed, abandoned, or closed health facility will be rehabilitated. An awareness-raising campaign on hygiene and situation measures to be observed by the population will be conducted in order to reduce the risk of disease or epidemics. With regard to education, the deserted schools or those that have been burned by the terrorist bands will be rehabilitated and secured in view of a smooth start of the 2018-2019 academic year. As far as housing is concerned, a dual action will be implemented for the establishment of emergency shelters for initially displaced population and the restriction of dwelling, burn, and ransack by terrorists. As to agropastoral assistance, significant support will be provided to the population, such as the provision of agricultural inputs and the restocking of herds that were looted by terrorists during their raids and other hostages. To ensure the protection of vulnerable groups, awareness campaign against gender-based violence, early and forced marriages, early pregnancies, the enrollment of youths in arms groups and their training in crime and trivialization of death and drugs consumption will be carried out. Psychosocial assistance will also be systematically provided to victims. As part of this plan, some senior officials will pay assistance and comfort visit to population who found refuge in Nigeria. The budget of implementation of the emergency humanitarian assistance plan decided by the head of state is estimated at 12,716 million CFA francs. All these activities will be proceeded by field trips to the population directly concerned and community leaders to enable them to understand both the content and the merits of this assistance program and take ownership of it. The implementation of activities under the Emergency Humanitarian Assistance Plan will be carried out through a mixed team of national, international stakeholders, civil society, organization, and bilateral and multilateral partner. We should already be happy with the favorable response of the population and national social group to this initiative of the President of the Republic, His Excellency Paul Biya, who demonstrates if that were still necessary, how his heart goes out to his compatriots who are enduring torments and suffering because of the extremism and obscurantism of some misguided people, through though marginal. The head of state is thus giving a strong indication of his determination to bring the situation back to normal, to ensure the well-being of his fellow citizens, and to promote the ideals of solidarity, peace, and social cohesion that are the cardinal values of our nation. On behalf of the government, I would also like to acknowledge the enthusiasm shown by our bilateral and multilateral partners through their multifaceted support for the effective implementation of this emergency humanitarian assistance plan in the northwest and southwest region of our nation. To you, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished journalists, I urge you to accompany this vast movement in the sense of a civic commitment and solidarity with our compatriots, whoever and wherever they may be, when it comes to protecting and upholding the fundamental value of our nation. Thank you very much. As usual, you will be free to raise any kind of question. I'm very much pleased and delighted to have the Minister, the expert in this domain. Thank you, Mr. Minister.